You've just entered the no delusion zone. I'm David Debato. Well, folks, it's just 2 days before the American presidential election on Tuesday, November 5th, 2024. And as I said in my last few videos, I'm going to try to make as many of these videos, these podcasts, these appeals to my viewers to try to display to them, to present to them, to prove to you what we are facing, what not just we in the United States of America are facing, but what everyone in the Western world of democracies is facing. And what that is a choice. It's a choice between continuing the constitutional republic, the form of democracy that we have practiced here in the USA since 1776, 248 years, going on 2.5 centuries, or replacing that with a dictatorship. It's as simple as that. And for those of you who think that, oh, David, you're just preaching, you're engaging in hyperbole and drama for the sake of clickbait, or just for the sake of getting more viewers or whatever. No, I'm afraid not. I wish I was. I wish I was just doing this to attract more viewers to my channel, more subscribers. That's not the case at all. What I'm telling you is a stone cold fact. We in the US are facing a choice between continuing our not quite perfect democracy, our constitutional republic, or replacing it with an authoritarian, religious-based dictatorship, a theocracy based, in this case, on Christian nationalism, a very warped interpretation of Christianity by some very delusional Americans who strongly support Donald Trump and the Make America Great, or the MAGA movement. They wish to replace our democracy with a form of government which was fictionalized and made famous on the television series The Handmaid's Tale and The Nation of Gilead, a theocracy where anyone who didn't subscribe to their very strict and warped medieval sense of Christianity was persecuted, was hunted down, was arrested, was incarcerated, and very often they were executed, some quite publicly. Now, that should sound familiar to anyone who's been following Donald Trump over the last few days, weeks, and months, because he has stated quite publicly that if he wins the presidency a second time, he is, in fact, going to hunt down, prosecute, incarcerate, and in some cases, execute publicly his political enemies. And if you don't believe me, then just go on the internet and look at any of Donald Trump's recent speeches at his rallies or interviews. So, folks, again, that's what we are looking at. That's the choice we have here in America, a choice between continuing our democracy with an admittedly flawed candidate in Kamala Harris. I'm not saying she's perfect. She's far from it. She wouldn't have even been my first choice. But that's really irrelevant. When you're staring into the abyss, when you're looking at ending our democratic form of government and handing it in for a theocratic dictatorship where anyone who disagrees with their leader is arrested, incarcerated, and possibly publicly executed, well, in my opinion, that's not really a choice, unless you're a moron, unless you're a MAGA supporter, someone who takes delight in cruelty, in persecuting those who don't believe what you believe. If that's the case, then you're all in for Trump. You're a good German. Just like the article I wrote about 2 years ago, where the MAGA Republicans who vote for Donald Trump know exactly what he's all about, because he is them and they are him. They see the world through his warped, sadistic narcissistic eyes, and they like what they see, and they want more of it. No, that's not what I want, and that's not what tens of millions of real Americans want, because MAGA, the supporters who love Donald Trump, are not real Americans. They're phony Americans. They're traitors. They're morons. They're imbeciles. They're cruel, cruel human beings, just like Donald Trump. You know, just a few days ago, Donald Trump, who, by the way, bristles when you call him fascist. Well, this non-fascist just held a rally at Madison Square Garden in New York City. This just happens to be the same location where the other non-fascists held several rallies throughout the 1930s. These non-fascists were, in fact, real fascists. They were real Nazis. They were a part of the German-American Bund, an association of German Americans who loved Adolf Hitler, gave him the Hitler Gruß, the Hitler salute, and wanted all things German and Nazi. Well, I think it was a little more than symbolic that Herr Trump, who, by the way, he has ancestors that come from Germany, oddly enough. Well, Mr. Trump thought it would be very appropriate to hold one of his last rallies before the election at the very same location where the German-American Nazis held some of their biggest rallies in the 1930s. Here's a photo of one of those rallies, Nazi American rallies from the 1930s. Now, here's a photo of Herr Trump's rally at the same location in 2024. Now, of course, Trump, MAGA, and his cult followers say that there's no coincidence whatsoever. And why are we libs making a big deal out of this? Well, maybe it's because Trump over the last several days, weeks, months, and years has been quoting Herr Hitler with many of his phrases from Mein Kampf, like vermin, the other, enemy of the people, and so forth and so on. Trump is a Nazi. Trump is a fascist. Trump is a wannabe dictator. Trump is someone who has said on more than one occasion that he will shred the Constitution and that he will be a big dictator from day one. How much more does he have to tell us? He recently talked about wanting to have Liz Cheney executed publicly, shot. Years ago, he was behind the Hang Mike Pence efforts on January 6, 2021 at the U.S. Capitol. I could go on. Why do I have to keep bringing up all the things that have happened, that are facts, that are on video, that have been published in media platforms all around the world, that have come from the mouth of this disgraceful human being, Donald Trump himself? I shouldn't have to, but it's 2 days before the election, so I am. And I'm going to pound one more thing again against American military veterans. If you're listening to me, and I know that many of you do, take a look in the mirror. Look into your souls and ask yourself, why would I be supporting Donald Trump, a draft dodger, someone who openly mocks the American military, who openly mocks and degrades American military veterans, especially those who have fought in combat and become disabled, or perhaps were killed in combat? He mocks the families of American military veterans that have become disabled or were killed in combat. How in God's name, veterans, can you support an animal like that? So again, ask you, look yourself in the mirror and forget all this owning the libs bullshit or anything else. How can you support a man like that? If you say you can't, well, then I'll give you two choices. Sit out the election or vote for Kamala Harris. Get rid of this scumbag. He doesn't like you. He hates you. He mocks you. He hates the military. So if you vote for him, then you hate yourself. And many of you probably do. That's not my problem. My problem is ending democracy. And your votes could help do that. So again, think about it. And that's all for this edition of the No Delusion Zone. Just 48 hours before the most important existential election in American history. And let me ask you, you folks again, please, if you would like to hear more of my thoughts on this and other consequential issues dealing with not only the United States, but the Western world of democracies, please hit the subscribe button. I really need your support and your help to carry on doing this, to make more videos. Also, go to buymeacupofcoffee.com and buy me a coffee. That helps as well. But please subscribe, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your coworkers, tell your enemies, tell a MAGA person to subscribe to me. Love to talk to them. Need your help, please. So hit the subscribe button and let's talk again. I hopefully will be here tomorrow with a new video and also at least one more on election day. It's going to be an interesting couple of days, and who knows what's going to happen beyond that. But one thing I can promise you, I'll be here. Having said that, take care, stay safe, and stay sane.